Hi everyone, Jared Sechel here with PragerU, and I'm here with Mr. Daniel Hannan, an MEP member of the European Parliament and very well-spoken defender of conservative and libertarian principles. Thank you, Mr. Hannan, for joining us.
Pleasure.
So I want to start off, in light of the Manchester terror attack, is the UK doing a good job in general combating Islamist terror?
So it's a really difficult question to answer in the immediate aftermath of an attack, right?
But an exception?
Yes, it is. It really is. And the proof I would offer is that the last really big attack was the London Tube bombing in 2005. In those 12 years, how many Islamist attacks have ended in a fatality? Three in 12 years, right? One was the horrible murder of Private Lee Rigby in Woolwich in 2013. Then there was the knife attack in Westminster, and now this. How many dozens have been foiled? Well, we'll never know. It's the nature of the game. But you do get a sense of the imbalance of forces that, up against some of the best counter-terrorism operatives in the world, are people lacking sophisticated weaponry, lacking support, and driven to seek softer and softer targets. When Donald Trump said evil losers, I think he was exactly right. Losers was exactly the word. We shouldn't glamorize them. We shouldn't call them monstrous. A monster is something that you cower before, and these people are losers. Losers in the sense that they've been defeated in Iraq and Afghanistan and so on, but also losers in the sense that they're in no position to launch attacks on military targets. You know, when you're driven to blowing up a room of teenage and preteen girls, leave aside what that says about the wickedness of your outlook, it's also telling me something about how bad your position is, that's the target you're left with, because you can't aim any higher.
In a free society, is full security a reasonable expectation?
Nothing is ever 100% safe. I mean, it can't be done. The thing is, human beings are very bad at computing risk. You know, terrorism is still at a historically low level for us. It's nothing like what it was in the 70s, 80s, 90s. And even then, terrorism was a very unlikely way to end your life. The cliche that people give is that you're more likely to be killed in a lightning strike than in a jihadi attack. Well, that's true. You're 48 times more likely to die struck by lightning. But never mind that. You're more likely to be killed by a toddler, statistically, than by a jihadi. You're more likely to die having sex than in a terrorist attack, right? But of course, the human brain is bad at computing probability. It's a very natural thing that you focus on the vivid and the horrific and the recent, not on the dull, right? And the terrorists know this. This is why they go for these monstrosities, what the IRA used to call spectaculars, because they know that it'll make an impact.
And because citizens are rightly, it's more of an existential threat to daily life, jihadist terror, than, say, a lightning strike.
Not really. I mean, the attack on Westminster claimed the same number of lives that are killed on the roads in the UK on any typical day. But they didn't get the publicity. They didn't get the news coverage. So we, of course, naturally focus on the one that was a result of deliberate human agency. And that gives them a great deal of attention and of column inches. But I wonder whether we wouldn't be better off, as Trump suggested, mocking them, laughing at them, scorning them, and recognizing them as losers.
Is political correctness a problem in combating Islamism in the UK the way it has been in much of Europe?
I'm not sure that it is, no. I mean, one of the things that was clear in the aftermath, as we talk now, a couple of days after the attack, is that Salman Abedi, the murderer, had been repeatedly reported to the authorities by Muslims in Manchester because they thought he was showing signs of radicalization. He was barred from his mosque because he took issue with an imam after the imam had given an anti-extremism sermon. So I don't think this is really about the status of Islam or of migrants or whatever. It's a much more narrowly focused security issue, which on this occasion failed. But that, as I said earlier, is the exception, not the rule.
From this side of the pond, it looks like Britain's Labour Party is falling apart. What in the world happened to it?
it elected as its leader somebody who I think regrets the outcome of the Cold War. I mean, I realize that's a pretty shocking summary of it, but listen to what he says and make your own mind up. He is somebody prepared to ally with any cause, however vile, provided it is sufficiently anti-Western. He backed the IRA, Hamas, Hezbollah, anyone, because in his worldview, everything is the fault of the West in general and the US in particular, and therefore all of these monstrous terrorist organizations are not responsible for their own action. Everything must be our fault. It's an incredibly kind of solipsistic view of the universe. It's actually also, funnily enough, a rather racist view, because the ISIS and Hezbollah and so on are presumed to lack agency. Everything they do must be our fault.
What are lessons that left-wing progressives in the West should learn from Brexit?
Trust the people. I mean, the reason we got to this point is because there was an absolute refusal by the EU to take public opposition seriously or to listen to the criticisms. There'd been several previous referendums which had gone against closer integration in the Netherlands, in France, Denmark, Ireland, and they were all swatted aside. Public opinion was treated in Brussels as an obstacle to overcome, not as a reason to change direction. And eventually that got to the point where people in Britain correctly saw that the EU wasn't interested in reforming, would never return any powers, and therefore we had no option but to seek a different kind of relationship from the outside. That would not have happened had the European Union been prepared to show a little bit of flexibility in granting Britain a looser kind of deal.
During the speech, and this is my final question, during your speech that you just gave here, you said that free trade restrictions are kind of like a self-imposed economic blockade. Can you elaborate on what you mean?
Well, think about it. So when you're at war, First World War, Second World War, why do you blockade the enemy? Right? What are you hoping to achieve? You're trying to disrupt his trade, you're making him poorer, Can we all agree that you're not doing it to nurture his infant industries? Right? You're not doing it to try and help him be more sufficient in fuel or food or whatever. You're not trying to build him up so that he can be a more successful competitor in world markets. So how extraordinary that when you impose a tariff or a quota or any other protection, that you should effectively be choosing to do to yourself in peacetime what an enemy does to hurt you when he's at war with you.
It's a great explanation. Thank you, Mr. Hannan, and that was another episode of PragerU Live. Thanks, everyone.